So this is another video in the series, and there's just a lot going on in residential installations, and it's very prescribed by the National Electrical Code, and so I wanted to help sort that out. I get asked these questions on a daily basis, and thought it'd be helpful to have them out there on YouTube. So this is about the dedicated circuits for a home. This shouldn't be an extremely long video, but there are some circuits within the National Electrical Code that are required to be dedicated. Um, the general rule of thumb is anything that is large enough to require its own circuit, whether it's a 20, 30, 40, 50 amp, whatever that might be, whether it's a range, a hot tub, an air conditioner, microwave, just any large appliance is going to need it. The National Electrical Code does prescribe several, and I'll get into those. But first, of course, I'm going to have to throw up my disclaimer. Again, this is not a complete design. It's not everything about the code. It's not everything you need to know. It's just good information, and it'll probably help you get started and at least help you stay out of some trouble if you decide to be a do-it-yourselfer, even against my strong recommendation. So read my little disclaimer here, and then let's just keep moving on. So like I said, there's several required required circuits. And so let's start with the 20 amp outlets that are definitely required. The minimum that the code says, there's two 20 amp circuits that are dedicated just to small appliances in the kitchen. And these are the circuits that typically will serve the countertops, not necessarily limited to just countertops, but definitely designed to carry the load of our toasters, our toaster ovens, our microwaves, things along those lines that are going to be of kind of incidental use, blenders, whatnot. And then also, we need one for the GFI outlets that are serving the lavs and bathrooms. You can have a 20 amp for each bathroom, or you can have a 20 amp that serves all of the GFIs for all of the bathrooms. That may mean you have a piece of number 12-2 Romex that's flying all the way through your house to take care of that, but that is one method that you can use. Also, one is required for the laundry outlets. So, those are definitely prescribed 20 amp, 120 volt circuits in a home. Now, what other circuits might be prescribed? Well, that's going to depend a little bit on what you're doing in your home, and it does come down to the code won't tell you what to do in every regard. But for instance, here's an outlet that's 72 inches above counter, and that guy there, he's designed for a microwave hood. It's hard to imagine these days a microwave that doesn't require an entire circuit. They're just a large load. You can put 2400 watts on a 120 volt 20 amp circuit, and a lot of microwaves, especially for instance, I have a microwave that's convection and microwave, and that guy's pushing 2000 watts. So it's kind of a big deal. The 20 amp small appliance outlets are the ones I was talking about, and they serve these counter outlets, the island outlet, and possibly your breakfast nook can be served off those small appliance circuits. Nothing else can, though. You can't inadvertently carry those off into, a powder room or a side room or a storeroom or outside. They have to remain in just very specific areas. Let's see what else. Oh, of course, we have the dishwasher disposer. Disposals are pretty. It's a pretty good sized motor. I've seen them at a horsepower, 3/4 horsepower. So doing quite a bit of grinding, a lot more than maybe was originally planned. So disposal, maybe a dishwasher together. Some dishwashers have a pretty good sized heating element, so it might be necessary for them to have a dedicated outlet of 15 or 20 amps, or circuits, I should say. Same thing with the refrigerator. Refrigerator isn't necessarily required to have its own circuit, can be considered a small appliance on the small appliance circuit, but the refrigerators with all their ice makers and built-in water, some of them even have touchscreens, some of them are quite large, do fast freezing, things like that. It's not hard to imagine that it would be necessary for them to be on their own circuit. Some of that's a bit of a call for the homeowner But some jurisdictions might also be requiring that. Now moving out, you see that there's a dedicated outlet here. That's or an outlet anyway. It's dedicated for the range. This is an electric range. In this particular case, you're going to find the same is true of your dryer. That will be on its own circuit. If you have tools or whatnot in your garage of large nature, you would want to consider the idea of dedicating a circuit to that. Now, another thing, in the master bath, it's not that uncommon anymore, the large five-piece bathrooms, to see a jetted tub, and that jetted tub might also have heating in it. And if that's the case, that tub might merit its own circuit. You might have a towel heater, in-floor heater, something along those lines. So one 120-volt circuit in this bathroom may not be adequate to cover that load. Another location where you might see dedicated circuits, you might see them in, say, a condensing unit for air conditioning in your home. You also might see them in a situation like like I've drawn up here. You have a sump pump in a basement. Those are very common in our area. So a sump pump is something that's necessary, actually needs to be on its own circuit. Some jurisdictions will allow that circuit to be shared with something else, maybe the GFI outlet that's already in there. Then again, you might want to check with your local contractors or your local inspectors and ask them what they're doing with that. Sump pumps usually aren't a huge load, but sometimes they do exceed the rating of a 15 or 20 amp outlet on their own, so you have to be ready for that. So that's a general overview of the dedicated 120 volt, especially outlets that you're going to see. And hopefully that's been helpful to you.